Seems to happen.
What's going on? Welcome to Q&A with your pastors, and I'm telling you, I am we got questions for you. We got some good. What do you think, boss?
I think they're complex. Now,
there are some complex.
People always say they can't hear me, so I'm
get that in there.
I
liked it better when it was in the bosom.
In the bosom?
In Abraham's bosom.
We can do that.
Well, he'll make you uncomfortable. So
that's true.
To make sure they can hear me, I got to get real close. If you'd like to, you can share the post. Whoa, hey, there we go. You can comment, tell us where you're watching from, additional questions. We are rolling. I'm going to share the post, jump over and comment, and then feel free to throw stuff in. It looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I didn't even see these two.
These are the big versions of the first two.
Got you.
So we couldn't. This would take all of Q&A just to read that question.
Probably. It's a good question. Intense. Pastor Rain's got a serious face on.
Yeah.
Feel free. Okay, we got Miss Annette. She's on her break. Sharon Sinden, what's going on? I think fantasy football. Is that next week, Sharon, or this week? That's Mike. I'm going to adjust this a little bit, too.
This Saturday, the first preseason game for the Commanders.
I'm not. Who is the? What is it?
The Washington Redskins.
Washington Commanders. Formerly.
Now the Commanders.
Throw that over there. I like it.
Commanding.
Yes.
Commanding. Okay.
Hey, if they have a good season,
Miss Debbie Tirani.
everybody will love that.
Yeah, man. I guarantee I'll be loving it.
Yeah.
Happy to see you. Oh, live today. That's what she's saying. Miss Manahan is watching from Fairfield, PA. Darren Ahern. What's up, Darren? Miss Lorianne is on. What's going on? How about that homeschool co-op meeting on Sunday was fantastic. There was so many different parts of it. On Monday, Pastor Ray and I were connecting about it, and he was sharing how excited he was about it, how well it went. This is things are going very well. You ready? That's a Pastor Randy. This is I approve. You ready? I don't even know if you know this, but I was taking pictures of you during staff meeting the other day.
Oh, he was.
They're awesome. There we go. So there's one. There's one. That's one. That's Pastor Randy. He's engaged. And this is. I hope this is over soon. This is. I got sermon prep to do, and then by far my favorite. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. So on Monday, though, he was giving in reference to the homeschool co-op meeting, he's giving us that went well. I was happy. So.
How about the sad face video? Did you ever show them that one?
Oh, I don't know if I did.
You two with the sad face.
This is while people are.
My face is actually sad almost always.
You've got a serious resting face.
Yeah. A
serious resting face. So let me see if I can find this really, really quick. There's that one too.
Yeah, we'll show that.
So this is an app that...
I shouldn't have done that.
Oh, that will live in infamy. Here it is.
Am I doing okay? I seem fine. I'm fine. Ask Pastor Randy. I feel okay.
They need to see it.
I'm going to show you in a second. So we were both very happy, but this is a TikTok filter you can put over to show you. So here's what it looks like.
The sad app, right?
It's called the sad app, or sad filter.
Am I doing okay? I seem fine. I'm fine.
We were both smiling.
I feel okay. I'm sad? No. I feel fine.
Oh, good times. Oh, they're on their way to bowling. Miss Lorian's going bowling. That's super cool. Go Washington Commanders. Miss Leahy's watching from Florida, it looks like.
Wow.
Stranded in Texas. Oh, Darren's flight got canceled. Miss Lorian's cracking up. Debbie Tirani, they're enjoying your faces. Ashley Martinez, hello, some new families coming. Love the Martinez. And Devin did a great job last night. He did a great job. There's Ashley, you've been proud. I still can't get this picture right. It's driving me crazy.
What does Devin do?
He's an electric guitar player.
Oh, sweet.
Wow. He's an excellent electric guitar player. Nice. So, yeah, he was fantastic. He was just supposed to come and watch, but we had one of one of our players who had some COVID exposure.
Yep.
He was fine, but we thought it was best for the time. Anyways, so Devin actually, instead of just coming and watching, played. He was fantastic.
Yay.
Is he going to play Sunday?
In fact, he is. I'm going to talk with him this afternoon and make sure he feels comfortable with that, but that's the plan. Okay, Miss Donna Patrick. They're in Myrtle?
There's one of the Carolinas, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is Myrtle. It says right there. If I'd read her post, she should have said it. Miss Becky Ann says hi. Ashley, Kathy Kedney, Miss Debbie Tarani. One more element of falderall before we roll in. How about that? Is that okay? And then we'll dive into the 17 million very, very, very good questions that we have. But Miss Debbie, we just this is kind of a personal note, but we just redid my daughter's room. She had a big bed and everything. And this is her new room. I'll show you like this. Okay, and then if you look right here on her nightstand, this is what she wanted on her nightstand. Is the picture that she made for us. So
Aww.
it's awesome. She makes these. I think it's considered like a scrapbooking thing.
Kind of.
But she puts them on little stands and stuff.
Yeah.
And so we were asking Zoe what she wanted in her room. And
she made me a bunch with Buster.
oh, and so Zoe, that was one of the only things she asked to have that on her nightstand.
Aww.
It was adorable. Thought it'd make you smile. We got a lot of people on, so we're gonna keep ready. He said he's ready. Miss Donna says hello. Miss Debbie Tarney says, yes, fantastic. Okay, Pastor Kim.
Okay, I'm going to start with the easy question, so we can ease into
I'm
it.
telling you some good questions, right, boss?
They are, yeah.
Good questions.
Now, does that mean that there's times that are not good questions?
Potentially, too much falderall in the questions.
I don't even think where it is, but it's one, and this was friends of mine. Well, I submitted the question, and it was more for clarity.
Okay.
Because I know, so you had just mentioned slavery started with the Muslims, with Islam.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yes.
There we go. Yeah. So
You mentioned that slavery started with Islam. Friends and I were talking and confused by that because there's been history since long before Islam.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to understand when you're very quickly your mind is jumping around on a Sunday morning.
Right.
What I meant was American slavery.
Right.
Most people don't know that it was an Islamic thing. In fact, most people don't know about European white slave trade that the Muslims also did. They would raid, England and Ireland and different places, and they would take people into slavery. White slave trade. You don't ever read about that, but it's a reality. So it was a mistake. Of course, there was slavery way before that time. So.
And that's the conclusion we came to, and knowing that you were just saying something
Yes.
quickly and moving on.
Yeah.
But I thought, it was probably for everybody to clarify.
It's about the roots
that.
of American slave trade. And I'm
Yeah.
not trying to excuse anything that occurred here, but that's a part that, even that song, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, well, that came
Could you
because
sing that for us?
we started our Navy to fight the Islamic slave trade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tripoli is in Africa. Stick around me, man. You'll learn some
This
geography.
is knowledge just pours out.
Geography.
Knowledge too.
I used to have this guy in high school, one of the wildest, craziest guys. I hope he's still alive somewhere. Billy Traynor, and he was just into everything. But when you ask him, Billy, what do you want to do when you grow up, man? He'd say, I want to be a geographer.
A geographer.
Yeah, he was completely serious, and you would have had to know the guy, man. He was into everything. Yeah. But geographer, and I always wondered if he ever became a geographer.
What?
I mean,
Does a geographer do?
yeah. Well, I never knew either, and again, he was such an unusual guy. But anyway,
I mean, you
Quirky
think of
bird.
geography,
Yeah.
but what does a geographer do?
yeah,
Talk about geography?
I never knew the answer.
Can someone tell us? Would you mind putting it in the chat?
Yeah.
What does the occupation geographer do?
Yeah.
And I
Are you
wonder
doing topographical like elevations of?
Yeah.
Right, really. And is Billy Traynor somewhere alive out
Yeah.
there?
Billy, if you happen to be watching, let us know. Did you achieve your dream? Okay.
Here's another one. You commented in Sunday service that you moved from the big city to Frederick because of Bible prophecy. So can you
Yes.
elaborate a little bit on what you meant, like why that?
Yeah, as I started getting serious into Bible prophecy, first of all, I became convinced early on that the people of God would go through the entire time, that this teaching that was abroad then, that actually came with the late great planet Earth. Now it started way before then, late 1800s back in England, Plymouth Brethren.
That was the origin of pre-trib rapture?
Yeah, what was back in England. No. Back in the late 1800s in England, two legitimate scholars, Darby and Kelly, Plymouth Brethren group, they kind of started teaching. It was picked up by an American lawyer named Silas Schofield, who brought it to America. His good buddy was a man named Lewis Perry Chafer, who founded Dallas Theological Seminary and then popularized that teaching in the United States, and to the point that by the early 1900s, mid-1900s for sure, evangelical Christians, nobody knew there was any other position, because Christians don't study history. Yeah, but that position of a pre-tribulational rapture did not exist through all of Christian history, and that doesn't make it wrong. But there are other things that do make it wrong. It's just not supported scripturally. You can't find one verse that says that the church will be raptured or taken out, before the time of tribulation. But you can find a verse that says after the tribulation of those days, and then you have the rapture taking place. So
why would it make you move from D.C. to Frederick?
Well, because I became convinced that Christians were going to go through some very hard times, and I was convinced that my generation was likely to see it. I knew that the cities were going to be horrible places, man. You're not going to stand a chance in any big city. I don't want to bother people, but it's going to be very hard.
It's going to be more challenging.
It's going to be very, very hard to survive. I mean, God can have his people survive anywhere, but I knew that the further out in rural areas that you could get, the better your chance of survival. And I was survival-minded from the time that I became convinced that God's people were going to go through the tribulation. He led me to think survival-oriented, I think. So.
It's funny. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say a dumb question, but like for someone who's really wanting to know, like, why? What is it that you see would happen in the cities that would make it much more? Just to kind of...
pretty much all the really bad parts of movies.
Yeah. I mean, number one, you have population density. You have
scarcity,
extreme vulnerability to, let's just take water alone. If you don't have an independent water supply, and the grid goes down, which could easily occur during the tribulation, at least in certain parts of the world, well, you're in trouble. But just look at crime in the cities, So people are going to become predatory, and in the cities, it's going to be very hard to protect yourself. Whereas you in a rural area, you can still be in danger, but it's a little bit better odds.
So I was reading, there was a tsunami, I think it was 2001. Does that sound right? Sri Lankan tsunami?
Sri Lanka, yeah.
So I was, Boxing Day? Am I accurate? I think it was Boxing Day was the day that it hit. It was.
Oh no, that I don't know. Yeah.
So
that's one of those weird Canadian holidays, man.
Yeah, but I think it was.
I don't believe in the Canadians.
Yeah, whatever. But anyways, I started reading these articles of what took place, the loss of life, and the impact that tsunami had on the culture, which we have no concept of that. I mean, it is only do this if it affected me for months. But only if you really want to kind of process through something challenging, you can look it up and read what took place. 9/11, a couple thousand people passed away. In that tsunami, 250,000 people died like that. So it was a just completely similar to what potentially would happen during end times. There was no food. There was no water. There's just the way the land looked. Even just the carnage of people who have deceased being in the environments. It was really, really rough. And then how they were trying to bring aid to these people, and so many people simultaneously. So I say this because I did not.
That's the other problem with living in a city is that the sheer numbers, and trying to get aid and assistance to huge numbers of people like that, it's just not going to be possible.
So they had these helicopters are basically bringing food to some of these convalescent homes, hospitals, but there are local militia that have surrounded the hospitals with firearms. And so you have aid workers coming in trying to get supplies and food to the hospitals. They're not equipped to fight any kind of battle. No. They're just trying to serve and help. You got the Red Cross. It was just so they drop, fly away, leave this food, and the local militia. So at that point, I did not own a firearm, and I'm not a fighter like that. I didn't grow up in that kind of rough environment, so it was not my thing. But I was thinking in my head should be able to shoot something and be able to eat it, gut it, eat it, cook it. I thought that would be important. And then if somebody happened to come to our house and they were going to either hurt my family or I was going to be able to defend my family, that was why I got a firearm. And I think that's the kind of situation that we're going to see at end times, which is really, really rough.
Oh, without a doubt.
It's rough. So, anyways.
With the tsunami thing, I don't know if you know one of our staff members, Debbie McCroy, Director of Marriage and Early Childhood. Her brother was there. He's married to a woman from there and lived through that and has, I guess, still post-traumatic stress
Absolutely.
PTS from it. It's because he's even was helping, with the aid, medical, EMT kind of stuff, and bad. Really
Yeah,
bad.
really, really rough. But that's the type of in densely populated areas where you have people trying to get food, scarcity of food, scarcity of even water. People getting killed for water.
Oh, sure.
So hope that answers his question.
Okay, here's another one from the message. So, why
They're listening on Sundays,
Yeah,
boss.
apparently so.
Well, that's good. That's good. I always hope that happens.
You say the fourth beast represented the Islamic Caliphate, but most commentaries and theologians think it's the Roman Empire. So, why?
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of that stuff developed around World War II, that it was the Roman Empire and that theory and all like that. The problem with it is the geography. Okay, so the empires, Babylon, Medo-Persia, and then the Grecian, they all take in the same territory, but it expands. Okay, and with the Roman Empire, even though they were the next empire on the scene, they never took in that territory. I mean, they were like 1,500 miles away from Babylon, with at their zenith. So it never made any sense. And the thing that people miss is they're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and they get to the Roman Empire. But the storyline leaps because the last empire, it says, first of all, it's different than the rest, and that it's not on the scene until the end, the very end of the age. So you have to look for something that comes out of that geographical region that shows antagonism toward Israel and that still, is somehow united. And of course, there's never been a union like the Islamic nations are united because they're very different. The Sunnis and the Shiites, they fight each other. They have all kind of disputations amongst themselves, and yet there's kind of this linkage because of their loyalty to Allah, for want of a better term. So you take in Sharia law. It's not just a religion. It is a geopolitical legal system. It's a lot of things different than any of these other empires. So again, there are those that still hold to the old European position, and I don't have any particular problem with that, other than I think it's clearly wrong. But it's not going to hurt anything to hold to that position.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, good.
Well, I was just the next question kind of keeps it rolling.
Okay.
But you want to?
Just gonna say, what's the difference between a disputation and like a dispensation?
Oh, huge.
Those are big words.
Dispensation is an era of time.
It was just a really, really poor joke I was making.
I thought you were being serious, man. Me, that's why I got a
Normally
serious face.
normally somebody would say there was a dispute, but disputation.
Yeah.
College boy, look at you, man.
I read, man, and so sometimes I say things I don't even know what I'm saying. It's just something I read. I don't even know what they mean.
Because of all the the conflict or turmoil between the two, the disputation. Awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, Pastor Kim.
So
You had a serious question.
End times and so forth. So this person is saying, what part will the U.S. have according to Revelation?
We don't know. You have to understand the Bible is a Israel-centric, Jerusalem-centric book, and it talks specifically about those nations in the end time, and they're going to be very involved. There's going to be a lot of wars in those nations. But it doesn't mention the United States. It doesn't mention China. Well, it does loosely mention China. You might say. It talks about an army crossing the Euphrates at some point from the east.
Canada.
No Canada, no Europe
Latin
for the most part.
America.
So, northern Africa, but nothing in the southern parts of Africa. So, no Australia, and on we could go. So we can only guess. I hope that the United States will continue to be a factor, as we are kind of the only supporter of Israel, albeit that could change. And let's face it, Jesus talked about a lot of different wars and rumors of wars. I mean, there could be, a war that decimates the United States, or there could be an economic collapse, or you could have, what is that big volcanic area in the Midwest? There's a super volcano, Yellowstone.
Oh.
Geography.
Yeah, yeah.
Geographer.
I mean, we could have some kind of a freakish thing like that occur that changes the strength of the United States. So, but we just don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some that want to say the United States is Babylon the Great. The Jehovah's Witnesses has been saying that forever, and there are other Christians that want to say that. I don't think it quite fits. In fact, I know it doesn't really fit. But anyway, we don't really know about the United States.
Can I throw a question from online?
Sure.
Okay, so the question says, Pastor Randy used the term extraterrestrials. So if God created the universe, did he create them also? That's the first part. You want to answer that?
Yes.
Yes.
The answer is yes to both. But all I'm saying is what we have been calling as Christians.
That's not the question. That was just like a...
Oh, that was just the entrance to the question.
Correct.
Oh, I thought
So the
that was the
simple
question.
No, simple question is...
Did you think it was the question?
I thought it was.
It sounded
This is
very
part
much
one.
like
I'm
the question.
sorry. It is in fact a question, but I thought I'd have, that was going to be such a quick answer. I'll let you answer it and then read the question.
Okay.
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 So did God create them also?
Yes.
Yes, extraterrestrials. And when
So
we
the
talk,
question, that's not the question yet,
The
right?
question.
and when we talk about the new earth, is God just coming to U.S. or will the new earth include the universe? I don't know if they mean U.S. or they mean
Us.
the earth.
The earth.
They probably mean
the earth.
earth. Miss Becky, can you speak to that? Are you talking about the earth, or probably not just the U.S.? She probably means the answer
I think
is
it
that.
would be good for him to start answering what he was going to answer, even though
Come
it
on.
wasn't asked.
Let's go.
Just for
Yeah.
clarification
Yes.
for people.
So I'm trying to use the term extraterrestrial more and more now because I'm trying to prepare people for what's coming. The great deception that we're going to live through, in my opinion, it's going to be like the wildest science fiction movie you've ever seen, and we're not ready for it, particularly in the Christian world. So when I'm using the term extraterrestrial, I just mean angel. One and the same. We're terrestrial. We're from the earth. The angels are not from the earth. So therefore, they are extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
So when I use the term, but I want to plant that term in your mind because that's where the great deception is going to come. And I'm concerned that not enough people, are knowing what to look for. When Jesus talks about in Matthew 24, there's going to be the sudden appearance of multiple messiahs doing all the miracles that Jesus himself did. And he said the deception is going to be so intense that it's almost going to pull in his authentic followers. Well, that's where it's going to hover around. Of course, I've shared things about this in other teachings. So I don't want to go on too much about it, but that's all I mean is, that the angels, we need to start thinking about them in terms of extraterrestrials. Now, as far as the new heaven and the new earth, the scripture says that when God creates, the new heaven and the new earth, I mean, we're seeing this earth renovated, and the New Jerusalem evidently hovers, over the earth and forms kind of a paradisical-like connection. The Garden of Eden probably was a throne situation where the throne of God was. I mean, there's a lot of speculation about it, but that'll evidently be reestablished again. So God's home, it says in Revelation 21:22, will literally be on earth. That's the place that he's going to choose. He's going to be face to face with those that dwell there. So the New Jerusalem, the earth, they're going to be kind of one, but the earth is going to be very different than it is now. It says there's not going to be any sea, which is a really interesting thought. I guess there'll be some lakes and rivers for people that still want to fish.
And kayak.
And kayak, yeah. But no
and
sea.
Scripture speaks to a time when God will force Satan and the rebellious angels
yes.
to the earth, right? So that's another part of what you're saying.
Critical.
They're not going to show up and say, "Hey, this is Satan
Yeah.
and his evil fallen angels." They're going to say probably,
Absolutely.
"We're from another planet. We planted life when you're here."
That's-
They're going to deceive us.
That's where the deception's
right?
going to come. When these entities arrive, and like Kim was saying, in Revelation 12, 9 through 12, it says that Satan and his angels are forced down to the earth. And it goes on to say in verse 12 that when he comes down, he is full of anger because he knows that his time is short. Well, they're going to deceive humanity, and I think the deception is going to come in the form of what you just said. They're going to say, we planted life on your planet, 40,000 years ago, 400,000 years ago, whatever they say. We've watched over you through the ages, but now you're in a time of trouble. So we always promise we come back because the records are all over the world about their promise to come back. And we're back now. We're going to help you through this turbulent time, but your real danger is yet to come, because there are other beings like us that have bad designs on your planet. And we're going to get you through this bumpy time for what's happening on Earth, but now we also want to prepare you for an attack that is coming from an evil empire that's out there. And the evil empire is Christ and his kingdom and his angels. And that's why in the battle of Armageddon, the battle that never happens in Revelation 19, the armies of the earth are amassed to attack the armies of Christ that are coming from heaven. So, and I think there's something else we got to open our heads up about. There's multiple references in the Old Testament about the chariots of God. And it says the chariots of God are thousands of thousands and 10,000s of 10,000s. They're compared to clouds because of the vastness of them. When what people call the rapture occurs in Matthew 24 verses 29 through 31, it is not Jesus that pulls people up from the earth. It says he sends his angels with the sound of a trumpet, and they raise the living up to earth. We have a perfect picture of this in 2 Kings chapter 2, where Elijah was taken up into a chariot of fire, some kind of a vehicle, and a vortex lifted him up, carried him away. We have to get our heads thinking that these angels don't just whisk around evidently on nothing. They utilize technology, advanced technology. One of the things it says about the beast and his forces, it says, who can make war with the beast? Nobody can make war with the beast. These angels of Satan that are forced down to the earth and do these miracles, they are so superior in their technology, in their ability to move matter around, change molecular structures with pure thought, that nobody on earth is prepared to do combat with them. So they're clearly superior. So we have to get our minds fixed to be expecting the most spectacular scientific or science fiction kind of a theater, for want of a better term, than anything we've ever seen, because that's the way I'm convinced it's going to come down. Satan and his angels will come down masquerading as our life givers. One of them, probably, the beast himself will say, I was here before you called me Jesus. I technically am your creator. I was the one that, did the doctoring of your DNA and yada, 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 and now we're back to help you. So then when it says in 2 Thessalonians 2:5, he comes into the temple, or 2:4, comes to the temple of God proclaiming himself as God, it's not going to be just overt, hey, I'm God. He's going to probably say something like, well, technically I'm your creator, but we're just more highly evolved than you guys, and we tampered with your DNA. We've done this all through the universe. We plant civilizations and watch over them and that kind of thing. So the scientific community has already opened us up to this. We have been programmed. We have been set up for this for well over 50 years now, just through our movies and through the teaching of evolution. If life spontaneously occurred in one place in the universe, it had to spontaneously occur elsewhere in the universe. Therefore, the universe has to be full of life. It's believable that the life would have existed longer than life on our planet, so they might be more highly developed technologically. So we've been set up for this. But that's the way this thing is going to come down, I'm convinced. Christians have been thinking all these wispy things, and this thing's going to be more physical and more concrete than we ever have prepared for. And in 1 or 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, it says that before this being declares himself as our creator in the temple of God, there will be this massive apostasy, this massive falling away, and it's going to be falling away from all religions, because these beings are going to say, now you know the truth. We're your creators. You Hindus, you had some truth of our interaction with you, and you Buddhists had some, and you Muslims had some, and you Christians have some, but now you know the whole story. You just had fragments, and you came up with these legends, and but now we're just like you. We're just more highly evolved, more sophisticated. We planted life here. we're going to help you get through this time, and we're going to help you evolve to a higher level so that you can handle sophisticated technology the way we've learned to do. So people in droves, in the billions, will be forsaking their religious systems, and that's why you'll have this mass falling away from faith, and many people that identify as Christians, they'll be buying into this very, very quickly. They'll be forsaking Christ. They'll be forsaking biblical living and righteousness and all these kinds of things, because these beings will not have any morals. They'll say, you know, it's all your choice. It's you know, what you want to do and who you want to be, other than utter dedication to the new global distribution system, economic system that is a necessity to keep life functioning and alive, and the new brotherhood of mankind, or whatever in the heck they'll call it.
The apex of almost every science fiction movie.
Yeah.
I tell you, a great science fiction movie to watch that it doesn't nail this storyline, but it comes pretty darn close. It's called Knowing. It's got
Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage,
Yeah.
one of the best I ever saw for this kind of a theme.
Yeah. Yeah. So kind of beam me up, Scotty, is really going to happen, right?
It is.
That's
It
kind
is.
of exciting.
And-
We're going to get
and-
beamed up.
And so
You
what?
think I would make it?
What I'm going to say again, I'm going to go this far out on the limb.
Yes, for sure.
When Christ returns in the air, there will be thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of his angels accompanying, I believe, in technological vehicles, and they will pull us up into these things.
Yeah.
Some may be huge. They may be as big as some cities. We just don't know. And you know, then of course we return to earth, and he establishes his kingdom for 1,000 years and so on. Now, you know, if I'm wrong, we'll see that God does it differently. But there's too many pieces that are converging. Like I said a couple weeks ago in a message, you know, the Pentagon is now just openly admitting UFOs are real. We don't know what they are. We don't know why they're here. We don't know how they do what they do. They have been hiding this stuff for 70 years. The only reason that they're now declaring this, I think, is because they know they are running out of time. That these entities that I suspect they've been interacting with for well over 50 years. I believe with all my heart, these entities, they're angels. They've faked themselves as, you know, people from other planetary systems or whatever. They've probably been sharing tiny fragments of technology, because when you look at the expansion of technology since World War II to now, it's off the charts. And in return, I think we've allowed them the right to experiment on humans.
It's the X-Files. There's
yeah.
so much more truth that's out there. The X-Files, I think, had a lot of
prepare for a science fiction like closing of this age. I think Christians, we've been thinking too ethereal about this stuff.
Any questions?
Yeah, well, there's a ton of questions.
Yeah, I
There's
can
clarification from Miss Becky. So my question, when they talk about the new earth, is God just coming to us? It's not U.S. She did
That's
capital
what
U.
You didn't hear me say that, did you?
I'm still mixed up. What do you mean us?
Us, like
I had
us.
called that Becky. I said
She
us.
called it.
But he
That's
got to
why she-
listen
that's
to
why-
me.
I'm confused. So did I answer the question or not?
Yeah.
I think
You
we should
did.
answered it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you did answer it, but it was not U.S. or Earth. It was in reference to us.
Us,
Our
people.
interactions. Okay.
Yeah.
We.
Can I catch up real quick, boss?
Yeah.
Yes.
Geographers use maps and global positioning systems in their work. Geographers study the Earth and the district. Okay, that's the question. You can check that out there.
I bet you Billy Traynor is doing this right now if he's still alive.
Living his best life. Becky Ann.
If anybody online knows Billy Traynor, I knew him from
Megan Trainor.
back at Suitland High School.
Professionals with bachelors in geography can pursue careers in cartography, surveying, research, data analysis. Okay, fantastic. Watching James Patrick says they're watching from Myrtle Beach as well. You guys, just starting to like you, James.
North Myrtle, Cherry Grove area. I've been there many times.
Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And the Second Amendment right by bringing those guns to the show. Miss you. I think he's talking about your pipes. We called them in high school.
Oh,
I think is what he's saying. I
Oh,
don't know.
okay.
Okay, keep going. I'll keep reading here.
Okay, here's another one from messages. Sunday you said this, but you've said it many times. You'll say that a true Christ follower should stop doing, not only that they should, but they do. They stop doing what God says not to do, and they start doing what he says to do. So One would believe Pastor Randy is speaking about sin. Yeah. If this is the case, are you saying that a Christ follower with sin still in their lives are not really Christ followers?
Read the last part of his question, because it reveals the problem in his thinking.
From here or here?
It's toward the closing of the last 2 or 3 sentences.
The really big, I shortened that. So do you
Okay,
mean what I
read it
just-
from the large one then.
From the
because,
large one, it
yeah.
says, I do have some shortcomings, but I do feel bad when I do catch myself sinning, and that's because as a result of being saved, Christ lives in me and I abide in him. But when Pastor
Being
Randy
saved.
says it, he says, it's almost like he's saying God is looking for performance-based worship instead of trusting in the finished work on the cross. Again, I'm not perfect, but I believe
Okay, read that one part again.
Finished work
the
of the
finished work of the cross.
Yeah. You see,
Not trusting in the
this
finished
is
work of
the
the cross.
problem. He's trusting in the finished work of the cross. Well, what he means is that he believes Jesus suffered on the cross to pay
Paid
for
the
a
price.
penalty for his sins. And as long as he trusts in that objective truth, he is what he calls saved. And what I'm saying is that evangelical Christians have miserably misunderstood what being saved entails.
Can I pause you for 1 second? Because I feel like people all the time wonder why you spend so much time. I've been asked this, talking about this penal substitutionary view of the atonement. It's because of this.
Yes.
This is, you have people, the
Yes.
premise of his question, which I thought was a fantastic off the bat, what you shared, Pastor Randy, was there are people that believe that they are Christians, but you say they're not.
Yes.
That was the impetus for his question.
Yeah.
And that's why penal substitutionary view of the atonement is so complex.
Yes.
Okay.
Because in their minds, one is a Christian if they believe in as he uses it, theologically
Finished
accurate
work
term,
of the cross.
the finished work of the cross. So essentially he's saying, if I believe Jesus paid the penalty for my sins on the cross, I am saved.
I'm good.
It is belief in a formula. That is not the problem. You got to go back to Genesis chapter 3. The problem was Adam and Eve, humanity, first trusted God completely and therefore obeyed him entirely.
So good.
Okay? Satan comes, slanders God. They break trust with God and disobey. Okay, so they disobey, break trust. The broken trust happened before the disobedience. So the problem in heaven is not some penalty that has to be paid before God can forgive. The problem is we don't trust God anymore. What he needs to save us from is our distrust. Our distrust produces sin. Sin destroys us mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. And when we talk about salvation, we need to think in terms of action-oriented rescues. Picture a volcano has just exploded and people are running for their lives to get away. That's what you need to picture, as opposed to some judicial deal that has been made and that is finalized. In other words, when I trust Christ, I now start to believe what he says about life. And one of the things he says is that sin is something that he needs to rescue me from. They shall call his name Jesus, because he will rescue his people from their sins, not the penalty of sins. And I did a whole Bible Institute on this, showing the multitude of verses that people interpret as being penal substitutionary verses, that it's all about paying this penalty. That in fact is not. So my point with this fella is this: if you're just trusting in what you call the finished work of Christ on the cross, you may or may not be saved, because that is not the question. Acts 16:30 and 31, the Apostle Paul and Silas, after the earthquake in the Philippian jail, the jailer comes out and he says, "Sirs, what must I do to be saved?" We have the clearest verse in the entire Bible where you need to believe in the finished work of Jesus on the cross to be saved.
If you have this belief process in your head, you're good.
Yeah, as long as you believe these truths about Jesus. So Paul and Silas say to the guy, you got to believe that Jesus is sinless, and he lived a perfect sinless life, and he died a sacrificial death, and he's God in flesh, and he rose from the grave, and he paid the penalty of our sins. So if you believe all those things, you're saved. That's not what they said. They said, trust in the Lord Jesus and you'll be saved. It is a living person. It is a dynamic relationship. It was a dynamic relationship. And when I use the term dynamic, I mean it is an ongoing influence. Okay, it's an energy striving thing. It's a motivational thing. It's a life-governing thing. Adam and Eve broke trust with God. Therefore, they were not under his influence. He couldn't lead them. He couldn't guide them. He couldn't nurture them. He couldn't develop them because they didn't trust him. Now God wants to reconcile, it says in 2 Corinthians 5, all of us to himself. That means I go from distrust to trust, but I'm not trusting in a set of facts alone about Jesus. I'm trusting in him. That's why Jesus said in John 10:27-28, my sheep hear my voice, I know them, and they follow me. Notice the action again, the dynamic. So this person describes a syndrome that could be true of any Christian. They say, look, it's not like I want to sin, but I still struggle with some stuff, and sometimes I blow up and I use filthy language, which I don't quite understand, but anyway, whatever your hang-up is. So they're acknowledging they're still sinful in certain areas, but they're trying to grow. Mm-hmm. You could be a Christian, but you also have to factor in some verses like 1 John chapter 2, which says, that if we say that we know him, but don't obey his commands, we're a liar, and the truth is not in us. So there's this whole thing of premeditation of sin, and treating sin as though it's no big deal. It's arbitrary. That shows I don't really trust Christ. It's like going to the doctor, and the doctor says, look, man, you got to stop drinking a fifth of whiskey a day, smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. And I say, Doc, I believe you, but then I go home and I drink a fifth of whiskey and smoke 2 packs of cigarettes. I'm going to die. Mm-hmm. Okay. So trust in the biblical sense, it's dynamic, it's active. I come under the influence. I am following someone. I'm not believing in something. Christ's death, his sacrificial death on the cross, was to win back my trust. It was not to pay some penalty that's looming in heaven somewhere. I mean, the picture is like a bunch of lawyers in heaven, and God's like, oh man, what am I going to do? I want to forgive these humans, but man, I got to pay this penalty, or these lawyers will eat my lunch. This is preposterous. It's just not supportable by Scripture.
Let me jump in just because one of the things that he was saying, that like you can tell from what I'm reading, he's saying, are you saying we should be sin free? And that's not at all what you're saying, that we still will struggle, but the idea is that we are struggling. We don't want to sin. Yes. The idea is our heart's intent is to do everything we can to recognize these things in our lives and to change them. Yeah. If we're flipping and not really worried about changing things, then there's where the problem or the big question comes. Are we really
exactly? There's so many multiple verses about obedience being normative for the authentic follower of Christ, the person that's actually trusted in him, not stuff about him. Now, don't get me wrong. I trust that Jesus was sinless, and he did miracles, and he rose others from the dead and raised from the dead, and he died a sacrificial death on the cross. I believe all the truth about him. They are the basis for my trust in him. Mm-hmm. The facts about him, I'm going to say it again, are the basis for my trust in him. But if my trust never goes in him and I never become his follower, and follower means I trust you so much, I'm going to set my will aside, and I want to do your will instead of my will. It's authentic trust. It's a real relationship. The Bible, from cover to cover, is relational. God's whole judicial system is based on relationship. It is not based on contractual legal forms and things of this nature. So we got the whole thing backwards. We painted God's judicial system in our image instead of allowing his judicial system be what it is, and we learn from it. So a real Christian, to answer this gentleman's problem or question, a real Christian, of course, can struggle with sin. We all do from the start. But as you said, there ought to be an authentic struggle. That's why in Ephesians 4, it says to Christians, verse 20 through 24, we're to progressively put off our old self and all of its attitudes and all of its ways of thinking and its habits, and to put on the new self progressively, which is developing to be a Christ-like form of ourself. So the thing that's critical, I think you pointed at, it's the attitude towards sin. I'm not trying to be harsh on this guy, but I'm uncomfortable when people are flippant about sin, because they're telling me they don't really trust what God's saying, that sin is killing us and destroying us. They think it's just an arbitrary set of rules, and so I can break these rules, and as long as there's not some obvious consequence,
immediately,
everything is fine. Well, and this shows a distrust in God.
I wasn't quite hearing flippant as I read it, but it's like, but I'm not perfect, so what do I do with this? And again, it's someone who's been so brought up under another teaching. I've said it's hard for people to turn that around when it's You might
Oh, it's
spend
true.
years in a church that they keep teaching.
And for this brother, I mean, 1 John 1:9, it says, if we confess our sins, he's faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. So part of God's cleansing process is for us to own our sin and own even the motivation for our sin in the presence of God. And that's his process to cleanse us, to develop us, to get us growing. But I cringe when I hear Christians say things, well, we're always going to sin, man. Nobody's going to be perfect, so what's the difference,
I sin every day.
I sin every day, yeah. And I'm really uncomfortable because that is not biblical language. That's not the biblical frame of reference in the way that Christians are supposed to be thinking or living. We are just the opposite. We are those that dread sin, strive against it, overcome it progressively, and take it very seriously. That's the one thing. It's not just an arbitrary set of rules that God made up. These are things that organically, spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, they destroy us, and they're especially deadly because they desensitize as they destroy. So we don't always know the damage is being done until it's too late.
Right, the conscience is being seared like that of a hot iron.
Yes.
Like it doesn't even doesn't even feel bad anymore.
Well, and we're losing our ability to live like God lives and love like God loves. We're literally slowly becoming less fully human and less fully alive. When we're fully human and fully alive, we're becoming more like Christ. We're living like Christ lives. We're loving like Christ loves. We lose the capacities for that. The damage is real. It's not
ethereal.
Yeah.
You used a word that I think is huge in trying to describe this, and it's premeditation. Like you're premeditating to do sin, like you are making a choice. A couple that says that they're Christ followers, I'm going to use a very obvious example of this. A couple that says that they're Christ followers, but they choose to move in together and begin to have sex habitually. Like you've made a choice. This is not I had a moment where I had a lapse in judgment, or I did something, my emotions got going. You have made a choice. I'm going to live this lifestyle. I think that's a huge defining point in the whole thing.
Yeah, and I'm going to say something that I know is going to be irritating some people. There is nothing in Scripture that would affirm or assure a couple like that they are Christians. In fact, everything in Scripture
says you are not a follower.
Would present discomfort to them unless they repent of that. Okay, so I mean, I'm just trying to be frank.
Moving in together.
No, sex period.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just for that clarification, because it could be,
that's
well,
true.
we're not living in the same house,
right.
even though we're still sleeping together every night.
Yeah, and the premeditation thing. But anyway, I mean, I didn't mean to sound harsh on this guy. It's just that I see this pattern, I see this trend. I've seen it now for well over 40 years in Christianity, and it's troubling. It really is, and it's based on some, in my opinion, some pretty poor teaching that has now been just kind of given orthodox stature that this is the only truth there is. The whole penal substitutionary view of the atonement, that there is no other view. Well, this is foolishness, because that view didn't even exist until the 1500s. So that, therefore, it can't possibly have anything to do with salvation. Christians were Christ followers, trusted in Him from the first century right on down, before that whole view ever became a reality. So, I'm
Can I throw something else out there?
Yes.
I was reading Luke 5, which is the calling of Peter, James, and John, and Jesus tells them, throw your nets on the other side of the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Now he was a carpenter. Mm-hmm. They were fishermen.
Right.
They had been fishermen probably their whole.
And they said they'd been fishing all night and they didn't catch anything.
Right. No, but that is, for me, in this whole logic and thought process.
Yep.
That is the point when they became Christ followers. Not when they got off the boat and parroted a prayer or understood, but they went, wait, you said to do this. And he says it. I forget exactly how he says it, but something to the effect of, we've been fishing all night and caught nothing, but because you...
At your word.
At your word, yeah. Because you say.
We'll do it.
And so they do. And then they pull up this huge net of fish.
Yeah.
And that's what a Christ follower does. Mm-hmm. God says to do it, I'm going to do it. He says not to do it, I'm not going to do it.
That's it.
Because he knows what's best.
It's just simple trust. And we have so muddied this and so complicated this. We've turned it into... you must mentally assent to an assortment of doctrines. I've heard some Christians go so far as to say Now, don't get me wrong. I completely believe in the deity of Christ. It's clearly taught in the Word of God. But I've heard Christians say that if you don't believe in the deity of Christ or the Trinity, you're not really Christian. I don't buy that, because from the 1st century to the 3rd century, they were struggling
They didn't understand,
with the
yeah.
identity of Christ and the Trinitarian expression of God. So they were real Christians, real followers of Christ. They just didn't have doctrinal certainty. Well, we've turned salvation into this series of doctrinal check boxes,
Yeah.
and it's just terrible. It's
Nothing to
terrible,
do with-
because you can check all those boxes, believe all the quote orthodox doctrinal truths about Jesus, and never trust in him and be his follower.
Obedience.
Yeah.
Obedience.
And it's not just obedience. I want to obey him
Yeah.
from the core of my being, because I really trust him. You know, I mean, it's simple. Children pick up on it easier than adults, I'm convinced.
Well, but part of that, I think, I've had some of these conversations with Christ followers for an extended period of time, and when you just, it's almost like their theology is built as a house of cards. So you pull that one card out, and this is what it means to be a Christ follower. This is what it means to be a Christian. You pull that card, and all of a sudden, well, if he didn't die, then what is this? And you got to kind of take a step back and take a deep breath and try to think through it logically, and it's.
The thing is they confuse the means with the end.
Yeah.
The death of Christ was the means to seal or to win back, for want of a better term,
yeah.
our trust, as opposed to it was the end where the payment, some ethereal payment was made, so that God would be allowed to forgive, which is just crazy thinking. I mean, God is either forgiving or he's not. I know humans that are forgiving. You mean humans are better than God? God's got to punish somebody before he can forgive? His hands are judicially tied by who? Who in heaven is judicial? If you want to say he's sovereign, well, then who's tying his hands? I mean, the whole thing is crazy thinking. But these teachers, they've got nice, tidy little boxes that they put all these things in, and they never question them.
Okay, I feel like we have time for one more question.
Okay.
And this is one that's a carryover from last week, because we had asked someone for some clarification. They had asked basically, how do you show grace to someone?
Okay.
And we said we really kind of need more context, so he gives the context. He says, how do we show grace to someone who has hurt the other in a way that violates the 10 Commandments? And he's talking about adultery. So his ex-counterpart is against religion and chooses to make parenting hard on me with our 4.5-year-old. How do I show her grace and ultimately forgive? So this is someone, he says ex-counterpart. I don't know if that means ex-wife or just someone that they had a child.
I feel like, again, this is one of these questions that unless you sit down and talk to the person and understand a little bit more about what is actually going on, what is his ex saying, what is she doing, But I'll try to answer the best I can. Okay, well, the way you can show grace is to, first of all, genuinely choose to forgive her for whatever damage. It sounds like it was adultery or something like that.
Yeah, adultery.
So, and that simply means, it doesn't mean that you're saying she didn't do anything wrong. You're saying, yes, you did do something wrong, but I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm not going to hold vengeance, an attitude of vengeance against you.
I don't need anything from you.
I don't need anything from you. You know, I'm going to let you and God work this thing out. However, it doesn't mean that you comply with everything that she's thinking, saying, or doing, or wanting to do with your child, because, you know, no human being is perfect in their wisdom, and so there has to be discussions and probably disagreements and things of that nature. So it gets kind of complicated how you answer the question.
Depending on.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just because she went astray doesn't mean that she doesn't maybe have some good ideas about child rearing. You know, she may see some things that he doesn't. So she doesn't lose all credibility for a stumble in her past, is what I'm trying to say. So you can't answer this thing without knowing specifics.
More of what's going on dynamically than in that. Okay.
And showing her grace, I will add one thing. It means you treat her with respect, and you don't always keep in the back of your mind somewhere dark thoughts about her. You know, you adulterous thing. You ruined my life, and you know, I hate you, and all. You know what I mean? You got to fight that battle mentally. You got to go to God again and again in prayer. Lord, I don't want to think these thoughts. I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to have any bitterness toward her. I want to treat her with respect as a human being made in your image. You know, that's what I mean by showing grace. polite conversation just like you would have with anyone else. You know.
Miss Annette says sin equals trauma. She's a counselor. Do my job on a daily basis, and you will see the effects.
Yeah.
Donald Wiles says intentional versus unintentional is different. Sin can and does in fact defile us. And I'm summarizing here. Edwin says hello. What's up, buddy? Okay, here's a question. There were two questions came in. One was, so are angels / extraterrestrials tooling around on these ships even now?
Yes. In my opinion.
That's what I said.
I can only give you my opinion. This is part of the setup for the last great deception. When you hear these multiple stories, and there was a Harvard psychologist that did studies on thousands of these things. His name was Mack. He's dead now. And he became convinced. He was a skeptic, but he became convinced. These abductions are real. They are happening. The numbers are incredibly high. They have been happening over a period of 40 or more years. And so I believe a hybridization, it's hard for me to say, program has been going on, because when you look at the hybrids in the Old Testament, they were freaks of nature. They were giants. They had 6 fingers, 6 toes.
Go say it. The
Nephilim.
Nephilim. so where do you get? I've always heard Nephilim, but you say Nephilim.
Yeah, from a great Hebrew scholar named Mike Heiser.
Heiser says
and Im in Hebrew, it's the deal. It's bringing God into it. Elohim. You know. So anyway.
But it's the emphasis is on a different syllable, is what I'm getting at. it's not the pronunciation.
Yeah. There you go. So I think this attempt to make less recognizable hybrids has been going on behind the scenes, and I believe, now this is, again, I could be wrong, I believe they probably succeeded quite well by this time.
Dennis Rodman.
And I suspect that we may interact with hybrids even right now and not know it. I'm not saying this is on a wide scale. I also believe that for 40, 50 or more years, our military and our secret hierarchy, CIA, whoever in the heck runs things, have known about these entities and have been interacting with them for a long, long time. I suspect the Russians have too. Mm-hmm. And I think we're soon going to have a disclosure of sorts where the governments of the world are going to just publicly come out with this, because they now know it's not going to throw us into a panic. They were always afraid it would throw the world into some sort of a catastrophic panic, but they've done this so slowly, so carefully, that nobody's even going to hardly shrug. Mm-hmm. When this announcement came out from the Pentagon, nobody even paid attention to it. It was shocking. I mean, just mind-boggling,
Yeah, it wasn't like a big...
So they've done a good job of desensitizing us, so that when they finally make the disclosure, it's not going to be that big of a deal, So, but I think the big shock's going to be to the Christian community, because some of these science fiction movies that we've seen, some of these Star Wars things even, which I don't watch. I tried and I just
can't
watch
man. We'll lose half our audience. Joshua Williams is going to lose it. Mr. Mattson, he's going to blow an O-ring.
I tried to watch Star Wars. I tried to watch Lord of the Rings.
All right, just move on. You're losing people.
I cannot watch those things. Anyway.
It's funny because the ships you talk about snatching people up look a lot like Star Destroyers, is what I'm saying, Josh. There's a chance.
And that's the thing. I think we need to get a different frame of mind. We tend to exclude technology from angels. We think of them in mystical terms,
Yeah.
And I think we better change that thought real quick.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. So here we go. Got another question. There's still a ton of people watching, so I think we should keep going personally.
Okay.
The question is, how do we repent when we have a list of sin and feel shame?
A list of sin, and feel, I'm not sure what repentance is being specific about sin that you know. And you have to understand what repentance means, that I'm confessing it to God, and I'm confessing it deeply, in my opinion.
And why?
Which is the motive.
So
this
good.
is what I did, and I had lousy motives. I did it for this reason. I'm not blaming it on anybody. I'm not legitimizing it. And then I don't want to do this anymore. I want to set up to the degree that I can, a different strategy in my life to avoid doing this ever again. So all of that is involved in repentance. So as far as shame, shame is tricky. Shame is your memory, my memory, remembering the sins that we did and how horrific and selfish and grotesque our motives were for the sin that we did. And this is where we have to just trust in the forgiveness of God. When it says, if we confess our sins, He's faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us, we've got to trust that. And we might have to repeat that to ourselves, and say, God, help me to shake these memories, shake these feelings. I know you forgive me. I know you tell me that you don't remember my sins anymore. So shame is tough to deal with. And I would like to say that it goes away instantaneously. I don't think that's likely in a lot of cases, particularly if you have kind of a sensitive conscience about certain things and you were very guilty in something. It's hard to shake. But it comes down to basics again. We have to just trust God at what He says, and then fight our feelings. Emotions are good servants. They are lousy leaders. And so we can't let our feeling of shame dominate us. We've got to say, no, I'm not going to yield to this, because God sees me as His child. He sees me forgiven. He says He refuses to even remember my sins anymore. So why should I let myself remember it? And why should I let somebody else? There are people in your life that will brand you, and you're never anything different. For the rest of your life, they see you as something that you have done, and they'll never let you forget it. And that makes shame that much more difficult.
It's the conviction versus condemnation. Conviction being something that stirs in you a change, and
yes.
And I think conviction comes from the Holy Spirit. That comes from God saying, this is wrong, don't do this, versus condemnation, which I think is not from above. That's, you're a failure, you can't do this, you'll never be, God will never use you.
Yes.
And that's the distinction. Shame comes from the second.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think you stated that really well. Yes.
I don't think you ever said it before. Just everybody quiet down for a second. I'm going to write down the time. Thursday.
Right out as a clip.
Can you put this in the pre-service?
I'm going to make a gift. I'm going to make a gift for you.
I just want to thank all the people that made this possible. Bernie and Kathy Jalot, Jessica, all the years you've spent, all my Bible profs and doctors. Okay. You're taking, I'm going to be honest, taking a lot of flack for the Star Wars comments. I mean, Joshua.
I'm sorry. I know I'm a bad person.
Joshua says Star Wars, lots of biblical references. Pastor Kim, try it. You'll like it.
I did. Listen, I really felt guilty as an American for not watching Star Wars, so I set out to do it. I could not watch it. It, to me, was so cheesy and goofy. I couldn't do it. I tried. I know I'm a bad man.
Goofy.
Cheesy and goofy.
That's just my pitiful opinion. I'm a bad man.
Well, every time Pastor Randy says Nephilim, you're supposed to take a drink of some water. So
Yeah.
And I really felt guilty about Lord of the Rings, because that was a Christian thing.
Yeah.
Put me to sleep every time. I just couldn't stay awake.
Okay, more stuff coming in. Okay, yeah. Just guys, I apologize. I've done my best with the Star Wars thing. I'll keep working on it.
I feel guilty about it. I'm a bad man. You're good. You guys are in the right place. I'm just bad. There's something wrong with my brain.
Okay, Paul Barrios says, I have to mention elements of PSA have been weaved into the church. Many beliefs on the atonement for centuries, even before Luther and Calvin in the 1500s.
The first even trace.
Well, PSA. Tell me what PSA is.
Penal substitutionary. That's very
Everything
inaccurate.
we were talking about earlier.
The very first trace of anything like it is with Anselm, and that's like the 11th and 12th century. And when you look at his theory very carefully, it does not remotely connect to.
He's saying Clement
penal
of Rome
substitution.
discussed it in his writings in the first century. It's thought because of a lot of opponents look
Well,
at
let
people.
me ask Paul this: Is it a condition of salvation to believe in the penal substitutionary view of the atonement?
I don't think he would say yes.
If you want to hold to that view, I don't particularly
Although-
have a problem with that. If you say or believe or make it a condition of salvation, with that I have a tremendous problem.
He's saying that you are correct about he's processing through PSA, but you're correct about Star Wars. Not good. That's what he says.
Well, I'm not even saying
Common
it's not
ground.
good. I'm saying I'm not good. Everybody loves it except me. I'm the
Oh,
problem.
now you got all kind of support. Tanya, Kettles, I can't appreciate Star Wars either. This is terrible. Pastor Randy, I'm lost too with the Star Wars stuff. All right, I'm going to delete these comments real quick,
Funny.
guys.
I
See if
have
can.
always been a Star Trek fan, but not a Star
Now,
Wars
see?
fan.
See?
know.
I like Star Trek,
I
too.
like Star Trek. but
Yeah,
not-
I like Star Trek, but Star Wars,
Star
I
Wars
tried.
is-
I wanted to fit in.
So I'll tell you what was interesting is I kind of fell in love with Star Wars after my kids were born. Isn't that wild? Like I kind of tolerated it because my parents did, but with, and of course, a lot of them never forget.
Like I said, I felt un-American, so I really tried, but just can't do it.
I did too. Pastor Randy slept on Lord of the Rings. I think it was
did.
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, not only once, every time I tried to watch it, I fell asleep.
I fell asleep in the theater
I fell asleep in the theater the first time.
with Jessica.
Yeah. I was in the theater with Janet, and I fell sound asleep, and it was embarrassing. You know, you do that jump thing, and your head's bobbing, and but then I tried to watch it at home. You know,
Oh, that would definitely put you to sleep
couldn't
at
do
home.
it. Could not do it. I felt ashamed of myself.
All right. I think we shut it down or we're going to lose Pastor Kim, even
I
though we got a
know,
lot of
I'm-
people watching.
Speaking of tired, no, hungry. I'm hungry. I'm
You're
getting
hungry?
that tired.
Thanks for joining us. Star Wars and Star Trek are Star
And-
Wars down, Star Trek down, Lord of the Rings up, Star Wars and
No.
okay.
And we do have a couple
Narnia,
questions.
Paul says Narnia.
We didn't get to all the questions. We'll add them.
We didn't get to all the questions.
So we'll
next
go
week.
back next week
Yeah.
and catch those. Okay.
Next week we'll catch those questions.
Yeah.
What happens if I hit that camera?
Let's see if I can.
Oh, drilled it. It's the left side.
I'm gonna try
How about an
to-
orange peel at the camera? There we go.
Oh man,
Was it Dave Letterman that used to always
the
do that?
Orange peel.
It was Dave Letterman used to do it,
I
right?
think it was David Letterman.
Yes, he used
I almost-
he used to throw his pens and stuff and,
The
flick the paper,
yeah,
he'd sail
flick the
them
card.
I almost crumpled this up,
into
but this
the
is
scene
a,
behind
a
them.
reimbursement check to my wife. I'm
Oh.
gonna hold on to that one. Here, this is the old contract for our copier
Oh, for
that we
that.
renegotiated,
yeah,
so this can
yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us this Sunday. The final message in the oh, there it was. That was a direct hit in the series. Living in a there we go. That was a good shot. Living in a hostile culture.
Wait, that's my phone. I should
That Yeah, that's awesome.
Stop.
The orange peel. Sticky.
They feel very disrespected
You should.
that we're throwing stuff at them.
I want
Pashe
them to
says,
know.
Stop.
I may not like Star Wars, but
you
I didn't throw anything.
Oh, Paul loves Narnia. He says he has Aslan on his arm. Is that true?
Wow.
I don't remember that. I mean, not
again.
the Aslan.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Aslan the lion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds
I
like- Lost,
I
man.
texted Pastor Kim something that was like that.
That's pretty
I read it. It kind of caught me off guard for a second. This is pastoral ministry. That's what this is. Go ahead and read it. You can't. No, not out loud. Just for yourself. This is pastoral ministry in a nutshell, isn't it? It's so true.
That's funny.
That's hilarious.
That's
I
very
saw
funny.
it.
I'm gonna hang that in your
I've
office.
never seen that before. That's really,
But you kind
really
of
funny.
got to double take at
Yes,
it because it's
yes.
now they all want to know what it is.
Of course they
and
do.
I might, if you come back next week, we might show it to you.
Ah.
But it's good.
They'll be angry at us.
It's good. Very good. Okay, Cache says hi. Okay,
Hi, Cache.
this message. She's watching the whole time. She's awesome. High capacity children's worker. Lord of the Rings show comes out. Check that out. Debbie Charney says thank you for this. Stop throwing stuff at us. 3D glasses. Join us Sunday. Thank you for the insights. They appreciate you, boss. Okay, this week, give it to them.
The Lord resolves human history. We're in Daniel 12, and it really focuses on the last 3.5 years and a few days added to it before the return of Christ. And so that's where this is going to be a very different kind of a message. It's going to be a very much a teaching-oriented message, and I'll try not to make it too terribly boring, and hope somebody shows up.
They will.
Mm-hmm.
2 great services, great numbers on Sunday. Anything else, Pastor Kim, you want to talk about?
I think so.
All right.
hungry.
Pastor Kim, she shuts down.
You're starting actually to make me hungry now.
No, she keeps talking about it. I've been in conversations and meetings with Pastor Kim for a couple years now, and basically what happens is it's like the old. Remember you
got
would
a
call.
window.
You reach one part where she says, "That's it. I've got to eat."
You'd be on the phone and you're talking to somebody and it says you need to put more money in. That's like Pastor Kim. You got to put another quarter in or something. You don't feed her. Here's an orange. You feed her something. See that?
That's good, actually.
See that? Cat-like speed and reflexes.
Mm-hmm.
She's an athlete.
I
All
was
right.
riding my unicycle yesterday.
She was. I
Are
heard
we
she
going to
actually
see that in pre-service?
struck someone.
Oh, put it in pre-service. Yeah,
Okay,
that's too good
okay.
not to.
We have
Okay.
way too much fun in our pre-service videos.
No, that'd be such a surprise for people just suddenly to see that.
Just see me,
That's so off the
see
wall.
me sing and then get smacked.
Well, and the
They-
one I recorded yesterday
It'll,
that I showed you over there.
of me?
Oh,
Different
did
one.
you not see it?
Okay.
Oh, I'll show you one more time.
Okay.
And
I was showing Adam and
Alexa. We will see you on Sunday. It's going to be a great day. Plan to join us. Bye.
Bye.